Hello, friends, and welcome back to r/IDontWorkHereLady. Today I picked up 4 great stories about Karen's crazy people. But before we start, I want to say thank you so much to everyone who's subscribed to the channel. Let's get started. Our first story. Look at me. These are my groceries now. Oh boy, I can finally contribute. I'm in the grocery store on my way home from work. I work private security, so I'm wearing a black jacket with a cloth yellow badge sewn on it. I've been mistaken for a cop, and once LP, but never a stalker. Perusing the mac and cheese, because I'm a lazy bachelor, an older lady approached me, and I didn't pay her any mind, which was a mistake. She's clearly of Italian heritage and short in both stature and temper. Her, excuse me. So I step aside thinking she wants something off the shelf. My second mistake. Her, where's the honey? Me, I think that's down aisle 8. Her, well, aren't you going to take me there? Me, no. Her, what kind of service is this? You're supposed to walk me to an item, hand it to me. No wonder your store's going bankrupt. Me, I don't work here, lady. Piss off. Her, yes you do. I see you arranging the shelves. Now you're going to walk me there, or do I have to get you in trouble? So, side note, I did actually used to work in this store. I sold fish for 6 years and was responsible for setting up the display every morning. Also, I like to come in and secretly judge the guys who do that now because it looks like crap. But I digress. As I'm sure some of you ex-drones can attest, some habits die hard. I still block the shelf off after I grab something purely out of habit. Me, lady, I don't work here. Her, yes you do. You're just lazy. At this point, I've had more than my fill. I watch construction on a pipeline for a power plant, which is not popular with the locals. Every day, I have to walk through a picket line and deal with angry protesters and slogans and insults all day. I'm tired, and I'm cranky. And quite frankly, I don't feel like listening to this leathery old bag tell me what's what. So I decided enough was enough, and to have some fun. So I look into her cart and reach out for a box of elbow noodles. I pick it up, take a second to look at the bag, and casually drop it into my cart. I look at her, and her mouth is open like a dead red snapper with the most bewildered look on her face. Without giving her a moment to process, I reach back into her cart and grab a small jar of mayonnaise and put it in my cart as well. This time she starts stammering, but I'm not done yet. I grab a package of Coors noodle side things and look it over. I look her in the eye, extend my arm as far as I can, hold it straight, and just open my hand and let it fall to the floor. Me, I don't like Alfredo. This seemed to have snapped her back into reality because she puffed herself up and yelled, "What in the hell do you think you're doing?" Without breaking eye contact, I pause for a moment and say, "Look at me. These are my groceries now." She gets the most indignant expression and hurries past me. Down a different aisle, I noticed the store manager, the one who fired me, long story short, he's the boss from Office Space, and this woman having a heated discussion when she notices me and points me out to him. He and I make eye contact, and I wave with the biggest crap-eating grin I can muster. He just shakes his head, and I move on to the meat section. He never approached me about it, so I assume she didn't get me in quite as much trouble as she was hoping. I put the mayo back because I already had some, but I kept the noodles as a trophy. I ended up picking the Cracker Barrel cheddar and bacon mac and cheese as a treat to myself. I don't work here. My friends told me you do. Title says it all. One day my mom and I went to Mark's. Suddenly I felt a tap on my shoulder. Sometimes my dad does this to confuse me, but when I turned around, it was an old woman, entitled witch, or EW, who wanted my attention. Cue the conversation that escalated from 0 to 100 in only a few seconds. EW, excuse me, do you know where the microwavable meals are? Me, I would imagine they're in the frozen food section. I actually don't work here. EW, you think? Can't take your job seriously? You teenagers are all alike. I need to see your manager right now. Me, well, that certainly took a turn. But good luck with my boss. He doesn't work here either, and he wouldn't want to deal with you unless you chill out. EW, I may be old, but I'm not stupid. I know you work here at Mark's. My friend told me you do. Me, trying not to scream at this woman. Look, ma'am, I don't actually work. EW, I don't want to hear another peep from your pie hole until I see your manager. Me, he doesn't work here either. That's when I remembered something. My state has a program that helps people with mental disabilities find jobs. In my case, it was autism. Her friends must have seen me then and thought that I actually work at Mark's. That's probably what made her think that. Soon, an actual employee, confused employee, or CE, shows up. His uniform looked nothing like my outfit. Had I not taken up a job search at Mark's, this wouldn't happen. CE: May I help you, madam? EW: Yes, this little brat here refuses to do his job. I want him fired. Wow, she actually decided to lie to an employee. Thankfully, he didn't fall for it. CE: Ma'am, I don't know where you're getting this, but he doesn't work here. You probably saw him during his job search. EW: Is that so? Why is everybody so rude to me? I'll have everybody's jobs here. It's kind of funny considering she was the rudest person I've ever met, yet she claims that everybody's rude to her. She was escorted out of the building and her husband berated her for embarrassing them in public like that. The bank is closed. Just read the post about the bagel shop that was under construction, and it got me thinking about something similar. Obligatory posting from mobile, yada yada yada. Several years back, I worked for a contract security company. I was removed from the post I'd been at for several years. I could write a damn dissertation about the circumstances that led to that, but TLDR is that a control freak was put over security at the plant and set about removing literally every security officer to the point where my company simply sold off the contract and was reassigned temporarily to a bank that was closed for renovations. This was a really nice building, too. Built in the 20s, it still had the original stone wall panels and floors and all that. Basically, they were rearranging how the offices on the 3rd through 7th floors were arranged and setting up for some new government offices on the 8th through 12th. Now, it was obvious that the place was closed. The big sign out front was covered, all but one door was locked. There were big signs on the windows and doors proclaiming "closed for construction" in red lettering at what I imagine was 512-point font. Then below that were the other locations were and their phone numbers. I wish I had thought to count how many people walked in thinking the place was open, but a few come to mind. The worst was toward the end of the assignment. The door opens and who should walk in but the most perfect example of a "I want to talk to your manager" woman you've ever seen. She looks like you took every PTA and Frankensteined them into one person. Frankie walks in and breezes past me, all the while I'm telling her the bank is closed. I follow her to the closed teller stations before finally getting her to stop. Frankie: Is anyone here? Me: No, as I've been saying, the bank's closed for renovations. Frankie: I have business to do, so get someone out here. Me: The bank is closed. There's nobody here that can do any business with you. Frankie: Bullcrap. They never leave a place like this to a rent-a-cop. So get them like a good boy or I'll have your job. I have millions in this bank, so I'm pretty sure they'd fire you in a heartbeat to keep me happy. At this point, I've had beyond enough. Me: Ma'am, either leave or I'm calling the cops. It's that simple. Of course, Frankie thinks I'm bluffing. So I put in a call to the PD, which is literally next door, and within a minute, I see a car pull out onto the street and into the parking lot. All the while, Frankie is screeching that I'm lying and just trying to be difficult. The officer walks in, asks what the problem is. Frankie goes full Alex Jones vein, popping crazy, shouting at me and the officer that she'd have our jobs. Then comes the cherry on top. After several minutes trying to calm her down, the officer tells her to leave or be charged with trespassing. She did not take kindly to that, and in what I can only describe as a modern natural selection in action, she throws her purse at the cop, hitting him in the face. A cuffing later, she's hauled off, screaming like a banshee. Of course, I had a ton of paperwork to do over the incident, but it wasn't too bad. She ended up actually calling the bank and demanding I be fired, but by that time, the construction had finished and I got a new plant assignment that paid far better than either of the other two and was half the drive. I don't work for you. Stop calling me. Well, it finally happened. This isn't quite the typical IDWHL story, and it doesn't have a big, exciting ending, but I'm just thrilled I can finally post something here because I love this sub. So I was in the service line at my local grocery store to get a money order because it's far cheaper than the bank. The line is very long, so I take out my phone and browse Reddit to pass the time. Suddenly I hear an "excuse me" from the man behind me. He nicely asks if he can use my phone to call his boss and that it was important. I obliged and he stepped out of line a bit, but I could still kind of hear the conversation. It sounded like the person on the other end of the line was furious and the man could only get in a yes and okay. It was a quick conversation and he gave the phone back to me sheepishly and left the line. His boss must have been really upset to make him leave the line. It was extremely long and slow moving and we'd been in line for about 20 minutes at this point and weren't even at the front yet. However, I thought nothing of it. That was my mistake. About a half an hour later, I got a call from the number the man had called. It was a gruff-sounding man on the other end of the line asking me where I was, quite rudely, I may add. I told him I don't work for him and hung up because I was driving. Mistake number 2. Later, when I'm at my job at the library, I keep getting calls from the number. I work tutoring students, so I ignored the calls, but they kept coming. Finally, I pick up, and our conversation went like this. Me: stop calling. I don't work for you. I'm at the library working with students, and I can't keep bothering with my phone. Boss: why on earth are you at the library? You need to pick up this for me now. Me: I do not work for you. Boss: you won't if you keep it up with this behavior. I just hung up and blocked the number at that point. Couldn't deal with him anymore. I just hope I did the right thing. The man I let borrow my phone seemed like a nice guy, and I didn't want him to get in trouble. Sorry the ending wasn't too exciting. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next video.